What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for stopping by the channel once again today. I got a little bit of extra for you. It is June 1st, 2022. I am JD from New York. As always, coming to you from the beautiful OTS venue. Thank you guys so very much for joining me on your Wednesday afternoons, wherever you may be. Sasha Banks and Naomi, man. The most interesting story in all of pro wrestling. Two women that got WWE by the balls right now. They have stopped all communication with Vince McMahon and WWE management. I got the latest on everything regarding Sasha Banks and Naomi. What about the Women's Tag Team Championships? Does WWE have any plans for this supposed tournament? Of course they don't. I got news on it, though. And I got news on what WWE is saying about it right here on today's OTS. Also, Bray Wyatt decided to burn down the internet on Tuesday afternoon. I got what he said and what I think is coming for Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, and Dakota Kai. Gives us a glimpse as to her new character and what that will look like, and her new name, where I think she's going to end up on national television. All this plus so much more on OTS. Make sure you guys follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. Go check out all the other content that you might have missed on the channel. A very busy weekend this past weekend. It's all there on the homepage for you. And let's try for 1,000 likes on today's OTS Extra, man. Sasha Banks and Naomi. Let's start at the top. Sasha Banks and Naomi have stopped communicating. The emails, the texts, the phone calls have stopped with WWE management. Sasha Banks and Naomi obviously have been the most intriguing thing in all of pro wrestling, no matter where you look, for their decision to walk out of the company. And I stand by them 1,000%. A little salt on the wound for all the people that think that MJF walking out of the Fan Fest from AEW Double or Nothing weekend is the same as Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out of the WWE. You are clearly mistaken, and you probably have the IQ of a box of rocks. Shut the fuck up. It's not the same. Sasha Banks and Naomi vacated the Women's Tag Team Championships, threw the belts on the desk of Johnny Laurinaitis, and then walked out of the company 3 weeks ago, citing creative differences. And there are no signs of both of these women returning to the company. In a new report published by Fightful Select, they have revealed that communication between the two sides have gone from minuscule to absolutely nothing. Absolutely non-existent. Additionally, WWE canceled any travel plans for Sasha Banks and Naomi, and this clearly indicates that there are no plans for either of them to return anytime soon. Good. Good. I'm glad that they're standing their ground. The report goes on to say that if the rumors are true that Banks and Naomi have been suspended without pay, then this likely means that their contracts will not be frozen. Now, if WWE did not take it upon themselves to go out there and suspend Sasha Banks and Naomi, then the contracts could have easily been frozen, and WWE could have really pulled that prick move out of their bag of tricks, but they opted to suspend them without pay and teach them a lesson and teach the locker room not to defy the boss and WWE management. They are absolutely using this situation, our WWE, as a way to teach the rest of the locker room, if you get out of line, this could be you. And I said that their contracts, now that WWE has suspended them, cannot be frozen. Now, this certainly opens up the door for them to leave as soon as their contracts are up. There were rumors that Naomi's contract's up in the next couple of months. Same thing with Sasha Banks. If their contracts are up, no 90 days, and they can be free as birds to go anywhere that they want. Several reports have also emerged after WWE's latest controversy involving Sasha Banks. Like I said, without being paid, they are suspended. They cut all of social media on Facebook, and everything else on WWE Shop is non-existent. They pretty much have made Sasha Banks and Naomi on some of their social medias and on their shop. It's almost as if they don't exist. So WWE really is teaching the rest of the locker room a lesson by using Sasha Banks and Naomi as casualties here. So we got some more news today in regards to their situation, according to other outlets, Sasha Banks and Naomi, in light of their deals and with the deals and the situation that regards that, other sources have stated that their contracts are right now a legal situation and are being handled by lawyers. It was also noted by these sources and these other outlets that this is the way that situation should be. So, obviously, with Sasha Banks and Naomi, it seems to be in WrestleVotes, and their tweet seemingly is becoming more true as the days go on. It is going to get worse before it starts getting better, is what WrestleVotes tweeted out last week in regards to this situation. That's all I got right now as far as this is concerned, but I think this is good news. I honestly think this is good news. Why is it good news? Because I think them standing their ground and not being open to communication is a good thing. Me personally, as a fan, I'm glad that they did what they did. I'm glad that they developed the balls to fucking go out there and really tell WWE that this is not the way it should be. A lot of other people probably would have picked up the phone, listened to what WWE had to say, put an end to it, and get back on television and go right back into the fucking usual shit of how the machine works. I like that they don't want to be a part of that. I like that they want what they want, and they want shit to make sense, and they don't want to be treated. The women's division doesn't need to be treated that way, according to them. The titles are fucking a joke. I'm glad everything is working out in their favor here, because at the end of the day, if now all of their situation contractually is in the hands of the lawyers, I don't know how WWE is going to get away with that. With the talk of independent contractors and all that jargon, every single time someone's contract is brought up, you don't think these two women, you don't think these two beautiful, uber popular black women are going to go out there and fucking fight for what they believe in? It's going to be great. It honestly is going to be a beautiful thing. I would love to see them win and get one over WWE and really teach them a lesson. So if I have any more news on this, I will definitely let you guys know. But this seems to be the next step in this ever-evolving drama with Sasha Banks, Naomi, and WWE. Now, you're probably asking what's going on with the Women's Tag Team Championships. Dave Meltzer gave you a glimpse into what is going on, or lack thereof, with the Women's Tag Team Championships in this tournament that WWE announced on the first night that they walked away. It was previously reported that WWE had plans to bring in some teams from NXT for a women's tag team tournament to crown new women's tag team champions. Now, WWE doesn't have many teams, if any teams, on the main roster. They got maybe one team on the main roster, and that is Doudrop and Nikki Ash. If you look at Natalya and Shayna Baszler, I guess they could be constituted as a team. Then you got Carmella and Zelina Vega, and that's pretty much all you got on the main roster. WWE was even thinking about teaming Dana Brooke and Tamina Snuka up as a tag team to get them in the tournament. This is all a waste of time. Nobody gives a shit. This will fall on deaf ears, and nobody will give one iota of a fuck about any of these teams in this tournament to crown new women's tag team champions. And then after all is said and done, you think somebody's going to automatically go for whoever wins this tournament, be a fan of whoever wins this tournament? You think the majority of the audience is going to give a shit, knowing that Sasha Banks and Naomi were the tag team champions, and now we got to look at a potential team of Natalya and Shayna Baszler as women's tag team champions? Nobody wants to see that, especially the vocal fucking crowd on social media. They will never accept anybody that's not Sasha Banks and Naomi. WWE would probably be better off in their best interest to just axe the tag team championships and burn them in a fucking fire, because that's all that they are worth. Bryan Alvarez and Dave Meltzer noted on the Wrestling Observer Radio that they haven't heard a single word about a tournament as of late. WWE also hasn't made any attempt to create new teams ahead of said tournaments. The women's tag team tournament is dead now, says Dave Meltzer. Not a word. They had an idea for a 4-woman team tournament, whatever they end up being. It was pitched, but it was never signed off on as of a week ago. Now I have no idea what is going on. Not a single word. Now, there are other outlets that are reporting that sources close to them and the situation have reported that the tournament is not dead. Sources stated through these other outlets that it just hasn't been discussed with Meltzer by anyone who knows the plans, end quote. So what that means is that WWE doesn't have any plans, but they don't want the idea of them not having any plans out there in the open. So what WWE is doing is going through other outlets to get the news out there that they do have plans, that the tournament is still on, because at the end of the day, WWE doesn't want to look like the bad guys here, and they don't want to look like they ain't doing anything proactively for the women's division. That's all that is. WWE has zero fucking plans for this tag team title. This tournament is dead. They have no fucking teams. They know it. We know it. Everybody knows it. But they want to pretend like there are a tag team, that there is a tag team tournament happening, that there are tag teams in the division. Meanwhile, we all know that there isn't. And a tournament's not going to work. And a tournament's going to look ridiculous. WWE wants you to think that all is all right, but we know that it's not. That's all that is. WWE knows what they need to do, but they don't want to look like failures. If WWE gets rid and cancels the tag team division and the women's division and eradicates the titles and retires the titles, who do you think will look right? Sasha Banks and Naomi will look right. Of course they don't want the fucking idea floating out there that they don't have plans, that they don't have a tournament, that the tournament is canceled. If the titles are retired, Sasha Banks and Naomi look like fucking queens. That's it. That is the basis of the entire situation. They don't want to look like fools, and they know it, and most importantly, I know it. So that's that. You want my opinion on that? That's that. Bray Wyatt. He wanted to burn down the internet on Tuesday afternoon. Former WWE star Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, possibly teases a return to pro wrestling. He said this on social media: "Everything good that's ever happened to me first came a period of horrible suffering. I never ask why. I just wait for the rough part to end. I was chosen for whatever reason, and I've got shit to do. It doesn't hurt anymore. It burns. I'm ready now," says Bray Wyatt. He also went on to say, "I'm tired of watching, tired of hearing irrelevant clowns speculate how I will be perceived. Tired of hearing about my greed, my desire questioned. Wherever and whenever I decide to return, I'll remind everyone why they know my name again and again and again. Believe in me. Hashtag I found it." And then he tweets, "Patience. It's almost time." Now, these tweets came consecutively back to back to back on May 31st around dinner time. So I don't know what his idea is, but if there's one guy that's going to get people talking with the way he speaks and the way he articulates things, it's going to be Bray Wyatt. Now, I've said time and time and time again that WWE has actively killed this man's passion. They took what he worked so hard to achieve and so hard to create. He worked so hard to build a story and a storyline arc for his character following the demise of the Swamp Man Bray Wyatt character, the Eater of Worlds Bray Wyatt character, to transform himself into the Funhouse Bray Wyatt, turn himself into the Fiend at the end of the day. And WWE wiped all of that away because they didn't want him to have full creative control and direction over his character, because that's not allowed in WWE. Vince McMahon took over the decision or the entire process of the character, and the decisions that were made for the character were made by Vince McMahon and not so much Bray Wyatt anymore, to a point where everything got so confusing and so fucked up creatively that WWE in one fucking year made this guy irrelevant. They made this guy such a joke within 2 months of him debuting with this new character, only to feed him to Goldberg, and then at the end of this thing, give his entire gimmick to Alexa Bliss. then you wonder why this man was depressed, and you wonder why this man was questioning what he was doing and where he was working, and why he had attitude problems, per se, backstage in WWE. I would have attitudes as well. I would have attitude problems as well. So WWE definitely killed this man's passion for the entire business. Now he's ready. According to him, now he's ready. Where he shows up, I don't know. It came right after Double or Nothing. I know a lot of people on that side of things are talking about maybe he shows up in AEW. He's now ready. He wanted to wait till after Double or Nothing. I don't think he goes to AEW. I don't. In my heart, in my soul, I honestly think Bray Wyatt goes back to WWE. I do think that in the light of things and in the grand scheme of things, WWE, and listen, I don't want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to give them any part of me that thinks that they are right. But WWE has to know at some point that their roster issues are a major fucking problem. That Roman Reigns, and I've said this time and time and time again as well, we're looking at the end of Roman Reigns' career. Roman Reigns' time is dwindling down slowly but surely. Who do they have on that roster outside of Cody Rhodes? Nobody. They have nobody to replace Roman Reigns. Nobody that's actively ready right now at a high level. WWE knows that they have roster issues. I honestly think Bray is going to go back to WWE. I think Bray wants to be in WWE. I think Bray needed this time away. I think WWE needed Bray to be away from them. And I think Bray comes back and tells the story of whatever he wants to tell in the WWE, because it's not going to make sense if it's told somewhere else. He wants to be where he was when he started, and he wants to be where he wants to be when it ends, and that is WWE. I think WWE gives him another opportunity. I think that they know that they have roster issues, and I think Bray wants to be right where he was before he was let go to finish the entire story and tell everybody what he wants to say. That's what I think. Now, he could very well end up in AEW, but I don't want to sit here and tell you that he's going to be a game changer. I don't want to sit here and tell you that AEW needs Bray Wyatt. They don't need Bray Wyatt. They don't need Wyndham Rotunda. They have so much talent right now, and the idea of Claudio coming in and Johnny Gargano coming in and the talk of those two guys coming in, where is Wyndham going to fit on AEW's roster? Where would he fit? Look at the top of AEW's main event scene. It is so fucking jam-packed with talent. What is he going to do that everybody else hasn't done? I don't understand. He's going to fit in like everybody else. Tony Khan is not going to give somebody like this, another WWE guy, to anger MJF more, right? Another WWE guy coming in here, making more money than MJF. Another WWE guy coming in here, taking another main event spot away from somebody else in the company that's been there since day one, who wants that spot, coming in there and taking that spot away from him. I can't see that being a good thing. I can't see that being a good creative decision for Tony Khan to make at this point, when the entire MJF drama is centered around ex-WWE guys coming in here, making more money and potentially taking spots from people like MJF. I can't see that making sense. I do think he ends up in the WWE. I really do think he ends up back there. Whether you like it or not, I honestly think WWE realizes, but they won't really admit their failures, that they have a roster problem. And they need Bray Wyatt. They need him back. And I think he wants to tell his story and the conclusion of this story with The Fiend there. So we'll see what happens. But obviously he decided to get everybody talking on Tuesday. And if there's one guy that's going to get people talking and excited, it's Wyndham Rotunda. Dakota Kai. She was released by WWE. Why? I don't know. Imagine having somebody like Dakota Kai on your roster and not having a role and a spot for someone like Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai is entering a new stage in her life and her career, and she's looking forward to what's next in pro wrestling. She's taken one step towards that by revealing her new ring name, King Coda. As you guys see here on social media, the former WWE star previously filed a trademark for the name earlier this month through Michael E. Dawkins, the same attorney who handles trademark filings and other issues for many pro wrestlers on WWE and AEW's roster. Kai also showed off her new look in this post on Twitter, which I think looks great. I love the look. She's a beautiful woman, and I love the hair colors, man. She's doing really good for herself, and she looks as good as I ever saw her. So Dakota Kai, man, and the excitement about her potentially landing somewhere is in the air. Dave Meltzer previously reported that management didn't see her as a main roster act or main roster material following her working several dark matches on SmackDown. Kai worked for WWE for 6 years and was among the NXT names to be released in April. Her non-compete just ended on Sunday. Prior to her release, Kai told management that she wasn't planning to renew her contract and wanted out of the company. This is great. So her 30 days are up. She didn't want to be there. She knew exactly what was going on in NXT. As soon as Triple H was removed from power, she knew that she didn't have a role there. And even when she was there, even under Triple H, I loved her. I thought she was a quality in-ring act. I loved what she brought to the table. I don't know how WWE didn't find her to be a main roster act or main roster material. That's bullshit. That's bogus, and it's bullshit. But even when she was there under Triple H, I always felt like she was the bridesmaid, but never the bride. She was never NXT champion. She always went for it. They always used her in a way to propel storylines forward regarding the championship. They gave her one hell of a fucking heel turn by turning on Tegan Nox. If you guys remember that at one of the Women's War Games matches a couple years back, that was tremendous. I thought that was beautifully executed, and I thought that was going to be the start of a brand new Dakota Kai, a world champion Dakota Kai. I thought she was going to be the one to lead that division. Yes, she was injury prone, but man, oh man, when you got someone like that and a heel turn like that happens and occurs for you, and then they still drop the ball and they don't go all the way with her, I mean, something's fucked up there. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride was Dakota Kai. But WWE dropped the ball. WWE dropped the ball in a day and age where they need women. Again, they know that they have roster problems. This is what I said about Bray Wyatt. They know they have roster problems. I don't get why you don't call Dakota Kai up and you don't put her on the main roster and you don't build that roster around somebody like Dakota Kai. She doesn't have to be the biggest name in the roster, but if you don't think she could be a great supporting role or a great supporting act in that roster, I don't understand what the fuck you're doing. And now you want to have a women's tag team tournament. You already called up Raquel Gonzalez. Dakota Kai could have been on the main roster already, should have been on the main roster well before Raquel got called up. You need women's tag teams. You want to have a women's tag team tournament. They were a solid act. They were a team for many, many, many months on NXT. It would be like picking up a fucking bicycle and riding all over again after taking a very long time away. That could have been a great team to pair for the women's tag team tournament, but WWE, they don't think. They don't plan ahead. Long-term booking and long-term ideas do not exist in WWE. They dropped the ball on Dakota Kai. Where I think she ends up, I really think she ends up in either Impact. I could see her in Impact, and I could see her in AEW. Tony Khan already brought in Athena, Ember Moon. I could see him going out there and getting Dakota Kai and bringing her in and really solidifying the women's division even further. And I know we talked about this on Wednesday. I'm not for it, but I'm just starting to get the feeling we got a tag team match tonight on Dynamite with Toni Storm and Ruby Soho against Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker. This is a rematch from a couple weeks ago on Rampage. I just have this feeling that Tony Khan is going to set the standard for women's wrestling by bringing in these quality women, and I do think that he's going to unveil sooner rather than later women's tag team championships. I don't want to see that. I don't think that they're needed. I think the TNT title for the men, just like the TBS championship for the women, that being a singles title, a mid-card singles title, secondary title, is all that you need. That's all you need. The TBS championship as a secondary title for the women is all you need. You do not need women's tag team championships. But I just have this feeling that we're going to get women's tag team championships sometime this year. And I don't think that's a good idea at all. I don't. You're going to be right in the same boat, and you're going to be making the same mistakes that WWE has made with their women's tag team division. They'll be important on day one, and then they won't ever feel that same way as we move further along with the women's tag team championships on television. But Dakota Kai, man, either Impact, I think she fit in like a glove over there, or AEW, because Tony Khan obviously knows that he needs to bulk up and beef up the women's division. He's already done that with Athena coming in. I could see Dakota Kai coming in as well. So she looks great. She looks like she's ready to go. I can't wait to see what is next for Dakota Kai. Guys, that's all I got on this OTS Extra. Let me know what you guys think down below of all the top stories on today's Extra. Once again, I will be live with Jesse tonight. Big show. We got MJF news. We got a ton of AEW news coming out of Double or Nothing, and we're going to go over the major show. First time in LA for AEW with Dynamite. It should be a major show as we start tonight with the first day of CM Punk on live television as a world heavyweight champion for All Elite Wrestling. It should be a major deal as we now begin the build going into Forbidden Door. Guys, hit that thumbs up. Let me know what you guys thought of all the top stories on today's video. 1,000 likes minimum on today's OTS Extra. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's Twitter and Instagram. And please make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and turn on that bell for all notifications. Have a great Wednesday afternoon, guys. I'll see you live tonight for AEW Dynamite and the post show right here on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.